Divinely revealed, your miraculous blessings manifest in 3 days. Answered prayers await you. In the heart of a small urban parish, beneath the intricate dance of light through stained glass, a desperate father knelt. Francis, consumed by heartbreak, clutched the rosary beads given to him by his mother. His only son, Ethan, lay in a hospital bed, diagnosed with a terminal illness. Each breath felt like a shattered prayer, echoing his grief. Yet, he had come to St. Jude's church, a sanctuary where hope flickered like candlelight. "Dear Lord," he whispered, "send me a sign." A palpable energy filled the air, as if the walls themselves breathed alongside him. Divine mercy is near. The congregation murmured, as beseeching prayers soared upward, colliding with the very heavens. Francis couldn't help but believe that today, change was imminent. He leaned into that belief, letting it warm his heart, igniting a flicker of anticipation. Then came that fateful prayer night led by Father Andrew, the frail priest whose very presence resonated divine wisdom. As he glided across the altar, his voice swelled with conviction. "In 3 days, your miracle will come," he declared, eyes locking with Francis'. The weight of those words left them both shaken, sparking a flame of hope amid the chilling winds of despair. Yet, as hours turned into days, doubt nagged at Francis. Could sincere faith in prayer uproot a destiny deemed dire by doctors? The world around him pushed for tangible solutions, logical remedies, and Francis felt torn. What if this is all just false hope? He thought, as shadows crept in. On the morning of the 3rd day, clouds hung low, the sky a canvas of gray. But within the church, a different atmosphere pulsated, an electrifying suspense, as if the very air was thick with prayer. Francis retreated into its quiet corners, each prayer a plea whispered against the heavy silence. Light poured through the stained glass, illuminating his fear and deep-seated hope at once. Suddenly, enveloped in warmth, tears fell from Francis' eyes. It wasn't sadness, it was surrender. "Lord, if it is your will," he murmured, the rosary clasped tightly in his trembling hands. He felt others gather around him, their hearts beating as one. Friends, family, and faithful worshippers reached out, hands resting upon his shoulders, forming a web of divine connection. "Keep praying," someone whispered, eyes wide with reverent excitement. And there, in that sacred moment, chaos in Francis' mind gave way to an inexplicable peace like dawn breaking through a long, dark night. The air shimmered, as though miracles were on the edge of manifestation. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. At that very moment, across town, in Ethan's hospital room, something began to shift. Monitors beeped erratically as pulses surged, doctors exchanged puzzled glances. A warmth, rich and vibrant, filled that sterile space. Eyes widened in disbelief. What had begun as a storm of despair was now yielding a miraculous calm, and as Francis knelt in prayer, a hush fell over St. Jude's. The congregation collectively held their breath, hearts poised on the brink of a revelation. Was this the miracle foretold? Or was another trial waiting just beyond the horizon, challenging Francis' very essence of faith? As the stillness enveloped St. Jude's, Francis felt a surge of energy ripple through the air, electrifying his spirit. He could almost hear the heartbeat of creation, a vibrant rhythm echoing the hope shared by those around him. The uncertainty clinging to him like a shroud was now dissolving into a shimmering possibility, like clouds yielding to the sun. Every prayer, every tear shed, every whispered plea felt less like a gesture of desperation and more like the threads of a divine tapestry being woven together. In the hospital room, Ethan's eyelids fluttered as if awakening from a long sleep. The once faint pings of machines now surged with renewed vigor, each beep resonating like a heartbeat, pulsing life back into the boy's frail body. Doctors hurried over, an unusual excitement in their voices, yet their eyes betrayed a lingering skepticism. Could it be? Had a miracle truly begun? Back in the church, Francis embraced the warmth of community gathered around him. Each hand resting on his shoulder sent ripples of strength through him. "Your son is on the brink of change, Francis," whispered a voice with an unwavering conviction. "Hold fast to your faith." It was Penny, a longtime friend, faith radiating from her in waves. His mind swirled with possibilities. Could this be the change that would turn sorrow into salvation? The air thickened with anticipation, each worshipper offering words of encouragement, their voices rising in a symphony of hope. Francis became one with them, a single heartbeat answering the prayers not just of a desperate father, but of an entire community. "Lord, let it be so. Let it be your will," he cried, his voice trembling yet resolute. Then came a phenomenon strange yet beautiful. A beam of sunlight broke through the heavy clouds outside, it shot through the stained glass, cascading colored light over the altar. It was as if the heavens opened just a crack, spilling forth blessings that danced with the dust motes in the air. Gasps filled the church. This was a sign. Eyes turned upward in awe, whispering in reverence. In that moment, Francis felt profoundly intertwined with both dark despair and bright hope. A strange clarity washed over him. It illuminated his path ahead. The battle was not over, yet he was not alone. He realized then that true faith was not born from ease, but rather cultivated through trials and an unwavering trust that something greater was at work behind the scenes. With renewed vigor, Francis raised his voice, joining the choir of prayers. "Thank you, Lord, for the miracle you are preparing." Tears streamed down his face. These were not merely tears of grief but tears of surrender, acceptance, and unshakable faith. The community around him rose too, standing as one body, a firm declaration that they believed in the miraculous. In the hospital, with doctors still buzzing around him like frantic bees, Ethan's breath changed. It grew steadier, each intake of air filling his lungs as light flooded the room. A whisper of a smile played on his lips. The unease that had pressed down on that sterile room began to fade, replaced by a sense of calm as though an unseen force cradled him. As Francis continued to pray, the question hung heavy in the air: what transformation was imminent? Could hearts of doubt still rally behind such a singular hope? The two worlds, one of anguished prayer, the other brimming with miraculous potential, began to intertwine. And just when surrender seemed complete, came a sudden shake, a sound unlike any other, a faint but unmistakable voice within, asking, "Are you ready for the unimaginable?" What had God prepared just around the corner? In the moments that followed, the air thickened with a palpable tension, a rubber band stretched taut, ready to snap. Francis felt it in the marrow of his bones, the force of hope and fear colliding within him. He closed his eyes, clutching his hands in fervent prayer. Every whispered devotion carried a weight heavier than gold, louder than any choir of angels. Around him, the congregation fell silent, each heart attuned to the faint but unmistakable stirrings of grace. Francis could sense their collective breath drawing in, waiting, ready to exhale precisely when the heavens opened. In that hush, he reflected on the miracles shared in Scripture, stories of the blind receiving sight, the lame walking, and even the dead returning to life. "Lord," he breathed, "remind us of your glory. Show us what you can do." As if in response, the flickering candles began to sway, casting dancing shadows that moved like spirits leaping in delight. Light pooled at the foot of the altar, brightening until it was almost blinding. It felt as if the very essence of hope was converging in that sacred space. Francis opened his eyes, his heart racing at the sight unfolding before him. At that moment, a child no older than 5 ran to the altar, her small hands outstretched. "Look!" she cried, her voice a clear bell ringing through the night. "The colors are singing. The light is happy." With innocent abandon, she twirled beneath the stained glass, her laughter echoing like a hymn. A wave of realization swept through Francis, a reminder that the divine can be revealed in the simplest of things. A child's joy was a glimpse of heaven. It felt as if all burdens of doubt were lighter than air. He watched her dance, and a smile broke through his tears, illuminating his face. "See." Penny leaned closer, her voice a soft whisper of wonder. Even in darkness, he shines through sometimes in the most unexpected of ways. The energy shifted within the church. Whispers of affirmation began to spread. Others joined the child, twirling and singing. The somber faces melted away, replaced by expressions of pure delight, reflecting a community ignited by the promise of that moment. Could the light in their hearts signal a turning tide in Ethan's battle? At the hospital, the beeping of machines became a rhythmic echo, synchronizing with the dance in the church. Ethan's eyelids fluttered open wider now, and he blinked slowly, adjusting to the embrace of light. Doctors who once hovered with frowns exchanged cautious smiles, their skepticism softening in the revelation of his gradual revival. What they had written off as impossible began to feel extraordinarily possible. Francis raised his hands, surrendering to the spirit that flowed around him. "Lord, we are ready. Whatever you will, let it be known," he proclaimed, his voice bursting with urgency. The church pulsed with a chorus of amen. As each voice lifted like an offering to the skies, the laughter and joy of the congregation swirled around him. Francis pondered the question that weighed heavy in his heart: what miracles were still to unfold? With light cascading everywhere, it beckoned him to delve deeper, deeper into the mystery of faith and the profound depths of God's grace. In the dimming light of St. Jude's, he felt a shift, a stirring that whispered promises of healing, hope, and divine revelation. What awaited them at dawn? What awaited them on day 3? The dawn broke like a soft promise, light spilling through the stained glass of St. Jude's, painting the stone walls with hues of amber and emerald. Francis stood before the altar, a quiet reverence settling over him. Each ray of sun felt like a spear of hope piercing the remnants of night's darkness. He closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, filling his lungs with the air of possibility. Around him, the congregation trickled in, drawn by the warmth of the light and the lingering sweetness of last night's joy. Faces that had been lined with worry now glowed with the anticipation of the miracle that they felt threading through their hearts. As they took seats, a palpable energy thrummed through the room, each heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of renewed faith. "Today," Francis murmured, "today we witness his power." With that, he opened his eyes, filled with determination. There was something greater at play, and he could feel it in every fiber of his being. Moments later, the gentle strumming of a guitar filled the church, carried by a voice soft yet strong, leading them in a familiar hymn. The lyrics wove their way through the sanctuary, binding the congregation in an ecstatic embrace of love and gratitude. As they sang, Francis felt the Spirit move like a cool breeze across his skin, reminding him that they were not alone. A whisper of movement at the back of the church caught his attention. It was Ethan's family, their expressions caught between hope and apprehension. "It's today, isn't it?" his mother asked, her voice a tremulous thread woven with conviction. "Yes," he replied, stepping towards them. "Today is a day of miracles. You must believe." In that moment, a hush fell over the gathering, all eyes turned towards Ethan's family. One mother, one father, all for one son. The collective faith of the church wrapped around them like a warm blanket, igniting a spark of unseen strength. As the final chords of the hymn resonated in the air, a faint sound drifted in from the hospital, merging with the atmosphere. It was the rhythmic beeping of Ethan's heart monitor, now steady and strong, each pulse a testament to the night's grace. For a heartbeat, the entire congregation felt as if they were held in some sacred intersection of time where heaven met earth. Francis stepped forward, his voice steady. "Let us pray," he called out, hands lifted high. "Heavenly Father, with each soft beat of Ethan's heart, we give thanks for the miracle unfolding right before our eyes. You are a God of the impossible, and we trust that your will shall be done." The congregation echoed his words, their voices rising in a crescendo of faith. It felt as though the very walls of the church vibrated with every utterance. There was unity, a single voice proclaiming a miracle yet to come, and it enveloped Francis with a profound sense of peace. Suddenly, a gentle stirring behind him demanded attention. Glancing back, he saw a procession of figures entering the sanctuary. Doctors and nurses, their scrubs vibrant against the history of the church. They looked bewildered yet hopeful. "Francis," one of them called, his heart racing. "It's Ethan." At that moment, the church trembled with anticipation. Hearts thudded, breaths quickened, every soul bore witness to the unfolding miracle. Francis felt the ground beneath them shift, the air thickening with a potent energy, electric and ripe for revelation. What was to come would transform their understanding of hope. As the words stood on the precipice of revelation, a hush fell again, this time not in silent prayer, but in awe. Could this mark the beginning of something beyond imagination? An unveiling of promises hidden beneath layers of despair. They stood on the brink of divine revelation, waiting for the light of God to guide them into the next chapter. The weight of anticipation hung thick in the air, like morning mist promising to lift. Francis regarded the doctors, their faces flickering with a mix of disbelief and joy, a blend echoing through the hearts of everyone present. Their presence felt like a divine notification, a signal that something extraordinary was unfolding. Ethan's father stepped closer, his hands trembling as he reached out. "Please, tell us, is he all right? Did he wake up?" The urgency in his voice was palpable, each word gripping the room tighter, knitting their hope into a tapestry that glowed with possibility. One of the nurses, her eyes shining like polished stones, stepped forward. "Ethan is stable. He's responding to the treatment better than we expected. We haven't seen anything like this before. It's almost miraculous." Her smile broke the tension, joy radiating from her as if she'd just seen the hand of God at work. A chorus of whispered praises and gasps filled St. Jude's, echoing against the stone walls. Francis could feel hearts lifting, burdens beginning to dissolve. They were a community bound by faith, and faith had kindled a light in the very essence of the sanctuary. "Let us give thanks," Francis exclaimed, extending his hands once more, inviting every soul to join him. As praise flooded forth, an explosion of spirit, everyone rose to their feet. They sang anew in fervent gratitude, each voice mingling and dancing like a symphony of angels. The walls vibrated, shaking off lingering gloom, and with every note, it felt as if chains were breaking, chains of fear, sorrow, and doubt. Within the chorus, there was an unmistakable tenderness woven through the voices. It birthed a sense of belonging. Francis scanned the faces, tears glimmered like dew on blossoms, hearts were laid bare in worship, each sigh laden with the weight of unfulfilled desires being miraculously addressed. Yet still, in the depth of Francis' spirit, a question lingered. What lay beyond this moment? What deeper truth awaited their embrace? Something within his heart whispered of mysteries undiscovered, of promises unveiled beyond their current joy. As the final hymn faded into silence, a deep stillness descended, heavy with expectation. Francis gathered himself, feeling the ground pulse beneath him. It was then he caught sight of Ethan's mother, kneeling, eyes lifted toward the heavens, tears flowing freely. Her faith was unyielding, and it invigorated him. Ethan's father leaned over, whispering fervently, "We must prepare ourselves, Francis. If this miracle is real, there's more to come. We need to be ready." Ready? The thought sparked a fire within Francis, a call to action. But what preparation did they require for miracles unimagined? For divine interventions that could bend the very fabric of reality? Suddenly, the church doors swung open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadows, silhouetted against the light. Francis squinted, jaw tightening. Who dared interrupt this sacred moment? The newcomer stepped inside. With winds of change sweeping into the church, it was as if hope had taken on a new form. The atmosphere crackled with potential, leaving the congregation poised on the cusp of divine revelation, ready to grasp what was yet to be unleashed. This was a moment destined to change everything. What did this mysterious arrival portend for Ethan, for the community, for their faith? With hearts racing, they leaned in, awaiting the unfolding of a greater narrative than any had anticipated. As the figure stepped into the warm light of St. Jude's, a hush fell over the congregation. Francis' heart raced, not with fear, but with a burgeoning sense of excitement. There was something undeniably magnetizing about the newcomer, a presence that pulled at the very strings of their collective spirit. The figure, a woman draped in a flowing cloak, threadbare yet vibrant with colors that mirrored the stained glass, moved slowly down the aisle. With each step, the dim light danced around her, illuminating a face marked with wisdom and kindness. Long, silver hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her eyes sparkled like morning dew under the sun. "Fear not," she said, her voice gentle yet resonant, wrapping around each listener like a warm embrace. "I come not to disturb your joy but to deepen it." Francis felt a wave of comfort wash over him, a balm to his anxious heart. The woman seemed like a divine messenger, one who had journeyed far beyond the earthly realm. She paused before the altar, taking a moment to acknowledge the devoted gathering. "Your prayers have been heard," she continued, raising her hands as if to embrace the whole congregation. "What has awakened in Ethan is but a whisper of what is yet to come. Miracles walk among you, waiting to be claimed." A ripple of murmurs shimmered through the pews, both curiosity and reverence filling the air. Could this truly be the moment they realized the depth of their faith? How can we prepare?" cried Ethan's father, stepping forward with a mix of fear and hope. The woman smiled, noting the sincerity etched across his features. "Your readiness blooms from belief. Dig deep into your hearts, release your burdens, and cast away disbelief. There will come a moment 3 days from now when the veil between heaven and earth thins. Your faith will draw forth blessings you have long awaited," she proclaimed, her eyes scanning the room like a lighthouse gleaming through the fog. "For 3 days," she whispered, "the skies will be alive with divine orchestration. Each of you is a note in this heavenly symphony. Sing out. Pray with abandon. Let your spirits be the vessels through which these blessings flow." The revelation sent shivers down Francis' spine. What did it mean to prepare? Faith was more than voice, it was action, it was a state of being. He thought of Ethan's mother, still kneeling in unshrinking faith, her heart mightily resonating with the whispers of heaven. In her vulnerability lay the promise of possibilities. As the woman's words settled, a transformative energy enveloped the sanctuary, binding hearts together in a single purpose, readying themselves for moments yet unseen. They needed to commit wholly, deeply to their faith. "Will you answer the call?" she asked, eyes steady and firm, though softened by compassion. "Yes," came the collective response, a chorus born of newfound expectation. Voices rang out, echoed with commitment. Would this truly be their journey? Would they be the very vessels of miracles? But even as anticipation bloomed, a flicker of trepidation threaded its way through Francis' thoughts. What exactly would each blessing entail? As he looked around, faces glowed with eager anticipation, he felt a stirring within him, urging him to lean into the mystery. As the woman turned to leave, she cast the congregation one last, knowing glance. Prepare your hearts, for this is just the beginning. Could they truly embrace the unknown? What awaited them in 3 days? With a whisper of hope still lingering in the air, Francis felt the pulse of faith beat stronger than it ever had. Standing on the edge of emergence, he sensed a new chapter beginning. What awaited them beyond these pivotal days? Would it be joy or trials? That question hung above them like a promise yet unfulfilled, a divine invitation to step boldly into the unfolding plan of God. The sun dipped lower, casting warm hues into St. Jude's, bathing the space in an amber glow that matched the hearts within. As the congregation lingered, the energy of anticipation thrummed in the air, a tangible force urging them towards something greater. Francis found himself lost in thought, his fingers tracing the contours of the wooden pew. The woman's words echoed, "Your faith will draw forth blessings you have long awaited." What did that really mean? He glanced around at familiar faces, each one a canvas painted with hope and hunger for divine touch. Ethan's father, still beaming from the miraculous promise, turned to the gathered souls. "Let us gather each night for prayer," he suggested, his voice strong, filled with a fervor that sparked excitement in the hearts of others. "We can share our hopes and visions, let us lift each other up as we prepare for this moment." A brilliant idea! Someone from the back exclaimed, a ripple of agreement spreading quickly through the group. Nods filled the room, and a plan took shape. They would come together not just as neighbors or friends, but as a family rooted in faith. Each night, they would meet, their voices entwining in song and prayer, crescendoing towards that fateful day. With a tingle of exhilaration, Francis committed himself to those gatherings. The next 3 days would be filled with declarations of faith, not mere whispers. Each word would be a brushstroke in a masterpiece of belief. As evening settled in, Francis arrived at the church, where the air was thick with expectation. People filled the pews, chatting about their hopes. The warmth of community wrapped around him like a glorious tapestry. Ethan's mother, vulnerable yet radiant, took her place at the front. "Let us open our hearts together," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Let us share what we desire for that day. Let the Lord hear our cries." One by one, voices rose, some soft, some strong, as they shared visions of healing, reconciliation, joy. Through the prayers, the woman's promise lived and grew. Each soul added a layer to the quilt of devotion, making their collective faith tangible. Francis felt himself captivated by this chorus. "I pray for a miracle for Ethan," he spoke, the words flowing more freely than he had ever imagined. "I pray for divine guidance." Others joined in, voices building an unseen force, a wall of light reflecting their deepest wishes. As they sang and prayed, Francis felt something transforming within him. The flicker of trepidation began to melt away, replaced by a warm flame of certainty. Then suddenly, a hush fell. The door creaked open, and in she walked again, the woman in vibrant cloak. The atmosphere shifted, pulsing with a strength that vibrated within their very souls. "Your unity delights the heavens," she proclaimed, her eyes shimmering brighter than before. "You are standing on the brink. Do you understand the richness of this moment?" They paused, held in her gaze, awash with the realization that they weren't just participants, they were co-creators in a sacred design. "Remember this," she said, her voice tender yet commanding. "What you seek is not lost. It resides within you. As you share your hopes, remember to listen for the whispers, the prompts from the Spirit. Your faith won't just bring forth blessings, it will reveal deeper truths." Francis felt charged, the words igniting a broader vision in his heart. Could the blessings be beyond their expectations? As she bowed her head, the congregation followed. The stillness wrapped around them, a sacred cocoon, urging their hearts to continue the journey into deeper faith. The woman stepped away, her silhouette fading, yet her presence lingered like the gentle aftertaste of a warm embrace. Together, they could feel that something sacred was unfolding. What miracles awaited? What truths were hidden just behind the veil of their prayers? As Francis looked around at the faces of his fellow believers, he sensed a magnetic pull toward a mystery still to come. The next day would change everything, wouldn't it? The first rays of dawn painted the sky in tender pastels, a miraculous canvas awakening the hearts of the faithful. St. Jude's felt alive, almost humming with a vibrancy that matched the anticipation stirring within each member of the congregation. Francis awoke with an unusual lightness in his spirit, eager for what lay ahead. It felt as if the very air around him was charged with divine promise. As he made his way to the church, he glimpsed Ethan and his father by the entrance, their faces glowing with hope. "Today is the day," Ethan's father proclaimed with a confident grin. "Miracles are on the horizon." Francis nodded, his heart swelling with shared faith. They entered the church together, melding into the familiar embrace of their community. The familiar scent of aged wood and incense wrapped around him, a comforting reminder of the sanctuary that held their dreams. "Let us come together in prayer," called Ethan's mother as she stepped forward, her hands clasped tightly. The room quickly filled with the sound of voices, blending into a comforting symphony. Each person lifted their pleas to the heavens, words woven together like threads in a divine tapestry. "Lord, let Ethan be healed," someone called, and the echo of agreement surged through the room like a wave. "We trust in your goodness," another chimed in. The very walls seemed to resonate with the heartfelt cries, amplifying their intentions. Francis closed his eyes, his palms pressed together, and he felt the warmth of connection flow through him. He recalled the woman in the vibrant cloak and her words, "What you seek resides within you." Closing his eyes tightly, he delved deep into his own spirit, feeling the whispers of hope and light. As prayers continued, a soft glow began to fill the sanctuary. It was subtle yet undeniable, like the sunrise flooding the room with grace. In that moment, Francis felt a surge of energy and unwavering certainty that something extraordinary was close at hand. Suddenly, the air shifted, and a gentle breeze, inexplicable yet refreshing, danced around them. The congregation fell silent, almost as if they could hear a collective heartbeat. Then, in the doorway, she appeared again, the woman in the vibrant cloak, her eyes radiating love and understanding. "I am here," she began, her voice enveloping them like a gentle embrace. "You have gathered in faith, and your prayers have reached the heavens. But there is more. The promise of transformation lies before you." Her words invoked a sacred stillness. The flickering candles cast shadows dancing alongside the flickers of ecstatic hope, as Francis and the others leaned closer, their hearts pounding. "Today will awaken gifts you did not know you possessed," she continued. "Your faith has the power to unlock what remains concealed. Allow yourselves to be vessels of His love. For through each act of kindness and every prayer, walls shall crumble, and hope will flourish." Eyes widened, and gasps echoed throughout the church. Inspiration rippled among them, the idea that God's answer might not just be for Ethan's healing, but a revival for every heart present. What if, Francis thought, his mind racing, each of us holds a piece of the miracle? The anticipation thickened in the air, as the group shifted, feeling a shared sense of purpose. The woman smiled knowingly, confirming his thoughts, and he sensed a beckoning call to rise, to act, to embody the very faith they had cultivated. The woman's parting words lingered in the midst of their gathered spirits: "Meet me at the heart of love and see wonders unfold." With her departure, the congregation stood poised in transformed anticipation, their faith a collective heartbeat ready to echo throughout their lives. What shifts would they embrace? What touches of the divine awaited their hands? The days ahead bore revelation and mystery. Each turning point could unveil deeper truths, broader blessings. Would they seize their miraculous chance? The soft glow lingered in the air, wrapping the congregation in a cocoon of hope. As the woman's presence faded, Francis sensed an awakening within himself, igniting an insatiable curiosity about the gifts waiting to be revealed. The shared anticipation filled the room like a fragrant incense, rich with expectation. Ethan's father stepped forward, breaking the silence. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice steady yet tinged with tremors of excitement. His inquiry prompted a ripple of murmurs around the sanctuary, stirring hearts and minds to consider action. Francis felt a surge of urgency. "We must share our intentions, our hearts," he suggested, emboldened by the warmth of community around him. "Let us commit to acts of kindness. If we are vessels of His love, we must flow together." "Every small act matters," Ethan's mother added, her face illuminated by enthusiasm. "Let us make a plan. What can we do this week?" With that, ideas blossomed like flowers in spring. They spoke of delivering meals to the sick, reaching out to others in need, and offering their time to those burdened by loneliness. Each suggestion hung in the air, infused with genuine love and intention, a sign of their growing unity. As they brainstormed, you could feel the excitement buzzing in the sanctuary. The vision of who they could be, salt and light to the world, started to take form. "What if we could touch lives beyond our walls?" murmured one member of the congregation, prompting a round of applause and affirming nods. Francis couldn't help but smile. It was more than a plan, it felt like a divine mandate. What if their collective acts of kindness sparked a chain reaction? What if it could lead to miracles in ways they couldn't even envision? After several minutes, the group began to organize. Ethan's father volunteered to lead a small team to visit an elderly neighbor, while others gathered to bring comfort to those struggling with illness. Even shy, reserved members of the assembly found themselves daring to suggest their own ideas, each voice adding to the growing symphony of faith-filled purpose. Amidst the stirring network of plans, an unexpected warmth enveloped Francis. It felt like the woman's presence had returned, reminding him that their dreams hinged not merely on healing, but on a radical change within their hearts. The divine spark was igniting transformation, both personally and collectively, and then, during the enthusiastic discussions, Francis felt the tug of the Spirit. What about prayer? He interjected softly yet firmly. Each of us can commit to prayer every day this week, a special focus on our intentions together. Let that be the heart of our action. Absolutely. Ethan exclaimed, clapping his hands together. Daily prayer, and let us encourage one another. We can text or call, check in and share our progress. The excitement turned into a palpable current flowing through those gathered. As they exchanged ideas, Francis could see faces reflecting a profound understanding. They were on the brink of something miraculous, and the thought alone was exhilarating. Ethan stood, his young eyes brightening with an idea. How about we meet again next Sunday? We can share our stories, what we've experienced through our acts of love. Each nod of agreement echoed promise, and Francis felt the rush of something powerful, a collective soaring of spirits caught in the undertow of divine purpose. Could this really be the start of a chain reaction? In that moment, the sacred buzz of anticipation turned into pure delight for Francis. He understood that God was not just offering miracles for Ethan but was inviting all of them toward a greater awakening. As they concluded their meeting, Francis looked around, noting the renewed light in every face. There was a shared understanding amongst them now, an unspoken commitment. Together, they would move forward, intertwining their faith and love until it bore fruit. With their plan set, a question hung untamed in the air: what incredible stories would they tell when miracles started manifesting, not just for Ethan but in every heart ready to embrace the unknown? The hour was late, but Francis felt invigorated. The mystery of the coming days loomed large before him, and he couldn't wait to see how the divine would unfold through their collective faith. As the third dawn broke softly over St. Jude's, Francis stood again before the altar, his heart brimming with expectation. The sanctuary pulsed with life, every face aglow with anticipation, united in a single purpose: healing. Today was the day promised, the culmination of prayers risen like incense, each one echoing through the corridors of heaven. The atmosphere thrummed with an otherworldly energy, as if the very walls of the church bore witness to the fervent hopes swirling within each heart. Let the miracle begin, Francis whispered, clenching his rosary, a symbol of the spiritual battle waged in the name of love. As the congregation arrived, a harmonious blend of faces, each carrying their own burdens but yearning for a shared joy, filled the pews. Ethan's mother sat at the front, her expression a blend of faith and anxiety. Today, she murmured, is about trust. The gentle strumming of a guitar broke the spell of silence, guiding the worshippers into song, their voices intertwined in a tapestry of praise. Each note resembled wings lifting their spirits higher, closer to the heavens. Joy surged as they sang, with every word, the foundation of hope solidified beneath them. Lord, fill this space with your healing light. Francis called out, his voice strong, resonating through the hearts of those gathered. And they responded, their amens lifting into the vaulted ceiling like a legion of angels. Suddenly, the soft crackle of whispers enveloped the room. The door opened with a gentle creak, and in walked Ethan's father, his expression wild with joy. Behind him followed a doctor in scrubs, her eyes wide with disbelief. "He's awake," Ethan's father announced, his voice thick with overwhelming emotion. "Ethan is awake." Gasps flooded the sanctuary as though a tide of hope surged forth, cascading over every soul present. Francis felt the exhilaration bloom within him, the very air tangling like a dance of light. He instinctively turned towards the altar, raising his hands high in gratitude. "We praise you, Lord." Tears of joy cascaded down faces, and the sound of 1,000 hearts beating in unison reverberated through St. Jude's. In those precious moments, Francis's spirit swelled, the weight of despair that had once rested heavily on his chest lifted into the ether. With renewed strength, he made his way to the front where Ethan's family stood, radiating an aura of belief and reclamation. The doctor began to speak, her voice barely a whisper above the rising tide of emotion. "Ethan's recovery, it's remarkable. We cannot explain it. His progress is miraculous." Each word she spoke felt like a wave crashing upon the shores of disbelief, proving the power of faith. Francis moved closer, grasping Ethan's mother's hand. "This is only the beginning," he assured her, the warmth of community enveloping them. All around, fellow church members shared knowing looks, nods of revelation flickering in their eyes. They had not merely witnessed a miracle, they had become participants in a divine narrative. Outside, sunlight burst through the clouds, pouring a cascade of colors and warmth over the congregation gathered in celebration. The earth seemed to hum with a rhythm of gratitude. "What can we do?" asked Penny, her eyes sparkling with purpose. "We must share this blessing." "Yes," Francis agreed fervently. "Let us reach out, share stories of today, embody the light. If we have been witnesses to this miracle, we must take this hope into the world." As they broke into excited conversations, forming plans to spread joy and kindness, it became clear that their collective faith had transformed them all. The weight they once bore lightened, replaced by a call to action. Returning to the altar, Francis bowed his head, the tears flowing freely now. "Lord," he prayed, "thank you for the miracle of Ethan. Thank you for the revival of hope. Help us to share this love, to carry the blessings into the lives of everyone who needs it." When he lifted his head, he saw them, a sea of glimmering eyes, determination etched across the faces of those who stood beside him. Together, they had touched the divine, and it was only the beginning. As the congregation poured from St. Jude's, Francis felt a warmth spread through him, wrapping around his spirit like an embrace. Grateful hearts began to sing praises, echoing the joy felt by all. "We must not forget this day." Someone called out, "We are a light, let us shine." At that moment, Francis understood that they had all become vessels of the miraculous. Hearts interconnected through faith, turning struggles into celebrations, doubts into affirmations. The divine woven through their lives would continue to manifest, urging them forward into the depths of purpose yet unknown. With every step, Francis cherished the truth awakened within him, that love, hope, and faith could pivot life's challenges into a symphony of blessings. No longer just a desperate father praying for a miracle, he would be part of an orchestra orchestrating a reality where divine possibilities reigned. So, as the sunlight danced upon their path, illuminating every shadow previously cast, he felt a stirring deep within his soul, a reminder of the mystery that lay not in the answers but in the journey. "Today," he announced as they walked together, "is a new dawn. And we've only just begun." With that clear call to action, they stepped forward into hope, into love, into a future brightened by divine light. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to catch every moment of these incredible faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and allow this uplifting message to reach others in need. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this amazing ending. We want to know how this story has impacted you. Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and miracles. True servants of God recognize the importance of spreading His love. Let us shine together.